Ready? Play.
So, David has gone from Canberra to Melbourne since we last saw him because something is happening in Melbourne this week already. And the Australian Open has actually already got underway. There was qualifiers this morning, as it is here in Central Europe, and sort of during the day in Melbourne. How's things, David?
Yeah, very good. Quite a chill day today. Just one practice, and yeah, Liam's hitting the ball well, and went off site to Albert Park today. Practiced on site yesterday, and he's in good spirits and ready for tomorrow. Yeah,
Okay.
I think he's in as good a place as he can be.
Okay.
And then we see what happens.
I mean, obviously tomorrow it's going to be against Emilio Gomez from Ecuador, backhand, double-handed, right-hander. Do you, David, when you're coming up against a player, for example, Liam is a lefty. If you're playing another lefty, do you have any particular thoughts on that, or is it just take each one as it comes?
I mean, pretty much play a similar game. I think a lot depends on who's kind of winning that cross court battle, and don't stay in that battle if you're starting to feel pressured and start to kind of loop the ball down the line and change the pattern. And other than that, I mean, you just play your tennis and see. You might adjust the serving a little bit because obviously the lefty's got the reach on the ad court.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably maybe a few more body serves, tucking into the backhand. And really, yeah, it's generally a battle of who can sort of win the forehand cross and get on top with that, and also, the backhand to backhand is an interesting battle, and maybe if Liam can get around a few and hit the forehand into the backhand as well, that can help.
We're now on the precipice of.
So yeah, it's.
We're on the sort of precipice here, David, of
the
4 kind of most intense pressurized weeks of the year. I mean, really, it's not even a week because it's sort of 3 days, really. Obviously, with the 4 slams, if Liam's healthy. So this is the moment, if you like. How is Liam bearing up under those circumstances?
I mean, I think the fact that he's qualified for Australia before last year, and he's qualified for the French Open. He made last round of Wimbledon qualifying and was leading 2 sets to love actually that time, and didn't get through. He's now pretty experienced at what this takes, and I think a lot of it is just not thinking ahead, playing one match at a time. The old cliche, but really. And Liam's very good at not looking to play next, and I never tell him, and just focusing on the guy that he's got to play the next day. And the fact is, I'd say we talked about this, how the levels of kind of Constantino, are so very, very small that you can't take any match for granted at all. It's potentially going to be a very tough battle, and you've got to be ready for the toughest battle possible, and to be a little easier than that, that's just a bonus. But mentally you have to be prepared for
what court,
for a really tough and maybe a long match.
What court is he going to be playing on, do you know?
I think it's 14.
Okay, one of the outside courts. I mean, I don't know if they ever play the qualifiers on the show courts.
They don't play the quality. No, no, they don't.
Okay.
I mean, there's some courts out there that are quite, they're quite big, even though they're not one of the big show courts. But there are courts out there that'll, certainly handle, 3 to 5,000 people. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, it's not on one of the show courts.
Do you get fans there? Do you get a few people trickling in?
Yes, actually, and this year is the first time they're actually going to be charging fans to watch quality.
Okay.
And it's going to be interesting to see whether that makes it more interesting for fans to say, "Oh, what's this all about?" and pay, $10 to get in. Scares some off. I mean, it's such a small amount. I don't think it'll scare anybody off. But yes, they can get some, decent crowds, and especially for the Aussies, they can have a good, 500 to 1,000 people watching an Aussie player.
Yeah, right. Well, fortunately, tomorrow he won't be
So
playing
yeah.
an Aussie player in that respect. What do you know about Gomez? Has he played Liam before? Have you come across him at all?
Yes, they played before Liam won. He is a predominantly clay court player. I mean, the fact that they can play on clay is they can play on every single surface, but he's more comfortable on clay, that's for sure. But again, that's the same thing as as the years roll around, players are getting much more comfortable on all different surfaces. But I would say that every player kind of has their favorite surfaces, which are either slightly quicker or slower. And I'd say he's probably, well, not probably, he is more comfortable on the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a very good tennis player, so it's not going to be easy. He knows his way around the court.
What are Liam's preferred
So I mean, I
conditions?
think that.
Sorry, David, there's a bit of a lag. What are Liam's preferred conditions?
I think Liam's most comfortable surfaces are hard and grass. But I mean, he's shown by qualifying for the French that he can play very well on clay, and I think Liam's quite a good all court player. So I don't think surface bothers him as much as some players. But I think the faster surfaces, certainly to date, have given him better results than the clay. But qualifying for the French is no mean feat, so he can play on it.
What differences are you noticing in compared to Canberra? So you've just been playing for a week or so in Canberra. You're now in Melbourne. Do the courts feel pretty much the same? Is Liam said anything that actually it feels a bit faster here or a bit slower?
I'd say it's a little bit slower, a little deader, because Canberra's actually got a bit of altitude.
Okay.
So the ball was probably jumping a little bit more in Canberra, but the court speed is very similar. I think a lot also depends here because he's going to play late afternoon tomorrow, his fifth match on. So the thing that actually affects conditions more is whether it's cooler or hotter. Obviously, if it's hotter, the ball is jumpier and travels a little faster. In the cooler conditions, the ball's not getting up as much. So it's probably going to be towards the cooler conditions when he gets on, depending on how quick the other matches go. So it's probably not going to be quite as quick as the heat of the day, and that probably affects things more than anything. And wind.
And the wind, okay.
I mean, if anything's anything to go by, tends to be quite still here in the mornings, and towards late afternoon the wind picks up, so it can get quite tricky, the conditions.
Yeah, right. What about? I mean, I saw that it's going to be it's 7 p.m. local time. Is that more or less the time it's scheduled for?
Yeah, I think it'll be more like 6.
Okay.
I mean, if you his fifth match, so if you're starting at 10, 2 hours per match. But I mean, all it takes is one really, really long match before a 3-hour match, and that
Yeah, right.
that throws it out. But of course, you can have a quick match, 9-2 or something like that. So I think he'll be on sometime between 5 and 6 tomorrow.
So it's best of 3?
But it could be as late as 7 if
Is it best of 3?
best of 3, yes.
Yeah. And is it best of 3 all for all?
Yes, it's best of 3. So, yeah.
Okay. And it's best of 3 all the way through?
All three rounds, yes. Only Wimbledon play best of 5 in the last round of qualifying.
Got it. Okay. And so
So
anyway,
all
he's
the other
obviously
Grand
feeling
Slams are best of 3.
okay. And you said he's feeling good, he's feeling optimistic, he's feeling as fit as he's ever been, right?
Yes. So I mean, he's ready, but you can never take anything for granted in tennis. There's no automatic right to win anything. You've got to work for everything and be ready to work for everything. And I think the mindset that all young players need to learn is don't try and measure how well you're going to have to beat someone. Just be prepared and play as hard as you can every single time you play a match, and not try to think, oh, today might be a little easier, today might be a little more difficult. Just go out and play can and see what happens, because that's the mindset you need.
What will you do tomorrow, David? Will you practice at all? Will you chill? What's the plan? How does that work with such a long day without playing and not knowing the specific time you're going to start?
Yeah. Well, we're at the courts about 12, so have a chilled morning. Go to the courts about 12. He'll eat lunch, and then he'll practice at 2, and then for about 30 to 40, and then go in, shower, change, probably, and then it's just a case of seeing how the matches are going. As to the toughest thing is actually managing your food intake, because obviously you can't have a full meal at the clock if you go on at 5. But if you're going to be on at 6 or 7, you need to take on a bit more fuel. So that's always a tough period. You've got to kind of gauge how big your snack has got to be, and then probably have to maybe snack again if it goes longer. I think that's always the most difficult part, is exactly how much to eat, because you just don't want to go on court, with a full pasta in your belly, or
David,
So
I mean, listen, we've already gone past our sort of 10-minute moment. Any final thoughts on the match tomorrow? Is there anything in particular that you want to sort of just highlight regarding either the opponent or even just the whole feeling around Melbourne right now? Is there a tennis vibe in the city?
Yes, there is, and I must say it was really good to turn on the television and see Carl Edmund playing a good match against Kekmanovic in Adelaide. I mean, Carl obviously has had a lot of success here in Australia, and it's just great to have him back. And he seems to be finding a feel now, so it's great to have him back. Obviously, so many players in town, so it does have a feel, and as far as the match, tomorrow, it's always very, very difficult. The first match, it's the one that everybody wants to just get through, because then you kind of feel like you're a little bit inside the tournament, and it's a really horrible feeling to go out first round qualies. So we got to hope that he can put his game on the court and it's good enough tomorrow.
Does Craig Tiley have much of a hands-on role during the qualifiers, or have you seen him? Do you come across him, or is he sort of somewhere much further away?
No. I've known Craig for years, and I think one of the things that he does is, I mean, he's there all day. His office is, as you walk in on the right-hand side, just past transport and the lobby kind of lounge there, and where practice courts are, and you just walk, 3 meters down, and a glass office. You can see him sitting there, and he's very, very accessible for players, coaches. He's always around, and coaches, players, if you want to have a chat with Craig, it's very, very easy to do so. And I think he's that's something he does absolutely brilliantly well, is be accessible and be around. Interesting question.
Yeah. Well, Craig has been he's probably the most well-known tournament director, probably primarily because of what happened last year. But I'm sure lots of people don't know the tournament directors at other tournaments, but Australia, he's, for one reason or another, he's been in the news quite a bit in the last couple of years, and especially obviously last year.
Yeah, and he's had a lot to do with the upgrade Australian Open over the years. He's really pushed it.
Of course, he's a
I don't know if
compatriot,
people
David,
know,
right?
he's South African.
Yeah.
Yes. And he actually started his career coaching college tennis in America, and the University of Illinois, and the NCAAs with the University of Illinois, which was a big deal because he was really outside of the general powerhouses that have perennially won NCAAs.
Okay.
So and then he was actually interviewed for a job in Britain, because he got a job. I think it was head of performance tennis initially in Tennis Australia, yeah, and then eventually became tournament director for the Australian Open, and then tournament director and CEO. So certainly having a very career, and done a really good job.
Yep, and it's pressure time for him. It's pressure time for you, David, and it's pressure time for Liam as well. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that Liam has a positive result tomorrow, and that we speak again in a day or so, and Liam's well on the path towards qualifying for the main draw. But we'll see how that pans out. David, I just want to say a big thank you for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be seeing you all again very